Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everyone. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. It's January 29th, Friday morning, 5:30 in the morning here, Calgary, Alberta time. And this is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. I'm really happy to be here again. And I just hope you're all well and everything is good in your life. And I just wanted to continue on today talking about a little bit about adult survivor issues of child sexual survivors. And I just have an article that I wanted to read, and I'll share that with you. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here this morning. None of my shows are professional, so please listen at your own discretion. And I'm not a professional counselor or legal representative, and I have no professional certificates. The opinions expressed on my show, when not reading from written material, are my own, and I cannot guarantee the quality or correctness of other websites that I use or reference to, because I'm not in control of those websites, right? And so do not listen to the show if you are believing it to be a professional show. Or a professional counseling or therapy session. And also, if you're under the age of 18, please make sure that you let someone know you're listening to this show, and maybe have them listen to it with you. And this way you can just be safe, and you can make sure that it's something that you want to listen to. Just because, people have a real responsibility to youth, and I'm so big on that because that's what I do. I'm an advocate for child rights and advocate to raise awareness and prevention of child abuse. And so this is why I feel it's very important to make sure that your caregiver or guardian would think this is something that you should, that would be okay for you to listen to. If you don't have anyone, which I know, there's so many people out there, young children who don't have a good parental figure, maybe a school counselor or a teacher or someone who you could actually let them know that you're listening to the show, and then they can check it out and see if it's something that you should be listening to. I would really appreciate that, because I really care about kids a lot. I was a kid, was mistreated and abused, and I just think that, my parents really weren't watching out for me. So if you don't have a parent watching out for you, maybe somebody in your life, like a good teacher, could give you a heads up whether or not you should listen to this show. And anyone with any sensitivity regarding the topics of this show, please do not listen to the show, because this show covers everything to do with abuse, from child abuse, domestic violence, and sexual abuse, is the whole thing. If you're sensitive to the subject of abuse, please don't listen to this show. And I always give the information that I'm going to talk about on this topic, and this gives you a chance to decide for yourself whether you want to listen. Excuse me. And then you can make that choice. If you think it's something that might upset you, then you can change the channel, turn the radio, turn the computer off, or whatever. This way, it just gives you a chance to know, this topic might bother me, I'm not going to listen. So I just want everybody to be in a safe place, and I just think that everyone deserves the opportunity to know the truth. And so that's why I started doing this. So, I'm happy to be here. I thought we'd cover today an article that I found. It's on the web. It's called www.wearesurvivors.org. And this is a blogtalkradio.com show. It's a 15-minute show. We have about 11 minutes left. You're welcome to phone in if you have some information, maybe a topical, like a reference for people that you just thought was so good in helping people to heal, on the road to healing, and or if you know of a website that has some great information out there for survivors of child abuse or domestic violence or anything related like that, please do phone in. I have a guest phone number, 917-889-3736. And if I don't see you right away, hang out on the phone there, because sometimes I'm reading and I don't see the switchboard while I'm reading. So just hang out there for a bit, and I'll try to get to your call if you do decide to call in. It's a U.S. number, and it is long-distance charges, so I don't blame people for not phoning. And if you need to get a hold of me, you can actually get a hold of me on blogtalkradio.com on this show. And there's a little place you can actually send me a message. So if you need some information, or you'd like some resources, or you just would like to know, about something more about what I was talking about, please get a hold of me. And this article on www.wearesurvivors.org, it's called Re-victimization of Adult Survivors. It's a blog entry from E. Diane Champe, and it's, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Champe. Maybe E. Diane Champ, for the French pronunciation. And it's a blog entry from wearesurvivors.org, written on November 16th, 2009. I just thought it was really good, because it's all about the re-victimization of adult survivors. And so I'm going to go ahead and just read, excuse me, I'm just going to read right from the page. And my voice is very bad this morning. I'll start right at the beginning. Once a person is victimized as a young child, particularly if they do not get any type of help to heal from their abuse, they are susceptible as adults to being re-victimized. When someone suffers from trauma that hasn't healed, reactions from old wounds will affect their adult lives in a variety of ways. Everything from substance abuse, binge eating, dissociation, having flashbacks, not having healthy boundaries, and feeling suicidal. All of these manifestations of prior abuse work toward destabilizing survivors and leaves them open to further abuse in their adult lives. And that's why I think this is so important to get help. If you've suffered abuse and you're having a real hard time and you're having any of those type of issues in your life, like, substance abuse, binge eating, dissociation, flashbacks, and all that she's talking about here, there is lots of good help out there. And I'm just noticing that as I'm researching and every day seeing new stuff and realizing that, there is some really good help out there for people who have these manifestations that were caused and brought about by abuse. And the whole issue of abuse, it's hard on a person. And, you have to go, as adults, we have to work through all of that. And I'm so thankful that I've worked out most of it. I'm in a real better place right now because a lot of my healing has been done already. And so I just think that it's so important. I wish I would have reached out and got professional help a long time ago. And that's why I always actually suggest professional help, because these people are trained to help people and they know how to help people. That's what they do. That's their life. And but there is. I'll give you some resources. I've got some great resources here that I think are awesome, that I would choose for myself, sort of thing, right? And they might not be good for you, because we all know what's good for ourselves, right? So you might take a look at them and be like, oh no, that's not for me. And that's okay too, right? Because we're all different and we all heal differently. We've all been through different things. So, what's good for you might not be good for me, and what's good for me might not be good for you. And that's why it's really important to seek out professional help, and to seek out maybe some counseling and some therapy if you're having real serious issues regarding the leftovers of being abused. I just think it's so important, right? Because we all deserve to have a healthy life, right? And she goes on to say here, this E. Diane Champay, there are several ways these types of wounds manifest themselves. When a person doesn't develop a secure attachment style when they are an infant or a young child, as I wrote in Adult Survivor Attachment Style, that's a little piece that she wrote that you can click on when you're on the website and it'll come up. They have problems in screening out untrustworthy people in their lives and are not centered within themselves. This means survivors many times form relationships with people who can become abusive towards them. This behavior reenacts how they were brought up, and some survivors may even say to themselves, I deserve to be treated this way. This is what she's saying. That if infants and young children, anyone being abused actually, doesn't get help, right, then you can have problems in screening out untrustworthy people, because you don't know, I might not know what a trustworthy person is, right? And so I might actually get into a relationship as an adult with someone who I think is okay to be with, and maybe marry them or whatever, and find out later that this person is just as bad or just as worse as the people that were abusing me when I was a child. See, because if we don't recognize the signs and we don't get the help that we need, from being abused children, we can often end up in some bad relationships, and the abuse just continues, and then you start to think, I might start to think, well, that's just what I deserve because this is what my whole life is all about. So it's very important to make sure that you want to have a good life, so you don't want to get into another abusive relationship. That is such an important thing. And a person might not seem abusive at first, and after a while you start noticing signs. And we actually went through some of that a while back, maybe a month ago or whatever, what to look for, the signs of an abusive person, right? So this way you can kind of protect yourself. Then I'll go on to read here. A lot of us learn to numb out to our surroundings because staying present while the abuse was occurring could have been too painful. Survivors who numb out as adults risk not being fully aware of their surroundings, especially when it becomes dangerous and thus are susceptible to being hurt again. And she says, sometimes when memories resurface, they naturally elicit painful and angry feelings. When these feelings overwhelm survivors, some become very angry and hostile towards others, and this sometimes puts survivors in harm's way when the other person retaliates. So, see, it can just be a really bad situation, to be re-victimized as an adult and after surviving child abuse or child sexual abuse or, be emotional abuse. The whole thing, it's really, really hard on adults and survivors of abuse. So that's why it's real important to get some real professional help. And too many survivors did not learn how to develop healthy boundaries. In fact, we were taught we had no right to any boundaries, not to our own personal space or with our own bodies. As adults, we risk being victimized when we don't exercise our right to say no to behavior we don't like. This is what she says here. And these are just a few examples of the long-term impact on adult survivors from the abuse we lived with and adjusted to the best way we could. In therapy, learning to develop secure attachments, establishing healthy boundaries, and forming healthy coping skills to deal with overwhelming feelings are major growth steps towards healing. It is important to discuss these issues not only with a therapist, but also with close friends and supportive loved ones if you have some in your life. I mean, some of us don't and some of us do. But that's why it's so important to keep reaching out. That's a big part of how we, as survivors, overcome our trauma and get on with our lives. And I really like this article. I think she did a great job. And yeah, it's so true. We have to reach out to those to get some support, to find the support. And it's out there, but you got to reach out because people don't often. People might not know that you were abused as a child, and they might not know that you have these issues going on in your life, so they don't know to even reach out to you. So many of us are really good at masking and hiding our feelings and, hiding our hurts and stuff. But some people might think, oh, well, this person behaves this way for another reason. They might not realize that you were abused as a child. So that's why it's so important to reach out. And I'm just going to read off some references. We have about 2 minutes here. I just want to tell you about Leila Albert. Leila Albert is a friend of mine, and she's got a website. It's a faith-based ministry, but she is an advocate for she's an advocate for child abuse, child sexual abuse, domestic violence. She's an awesome lady. She's working on a degree right now. She's an advocate, activist for abused children and adults. She's a mother, writer, and student who is obtaining her degree in criminal justice. She currently lives in New Jersey. She has 2 children and 2 dogs, and she's now been 10 years abuse-free after she divorced her now ex-husband, who was abusing her. And so she's 10 years abuse-free, and she's going to school, taking criminal justice, and she turned in, she combats child sexual abuse. She turned in a predator in her home state and in the Philippines for molesting young children. And so this woman, I just commend her. She's out there doing the job, watching out for kids. She turns in child sexual predators. Check her out, www.myspace.com/restore children. She's on MySpace, and this lady is awesome, and she's such a good person, and she's very much a mentor and a good friend. So I would check her website out. Then there is Michelle Rosenthal's Heal My PTSD. This is at www.healmyptsd.com, and she has a workshop on there that's free for anyone, and it's called Bridge the Gap Healing Workshop. So, and her website's awesome. I would really highly recommend it. ASCA Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, www.ascasupport.org. They have a sort of a self-help survivor workbook that you can check out. I actually printed off some of it. It's very good. The Survivor Manual. That is www.survivormanual.com. It's run by Angela Shelton Foundation. Awesome website. So many resources, crisis support, survivor networks, coalitions and advocacy centers, survivor and supporter blogs. I love that website. Great information on it. This is Points with Purpose, www.pointswithpurpose.com for female and male survivors and supporters. Check it out. This is such a great thing. And the Petra Luna Foundation, www.plunafoundation.com. Everyone take care. I'll be back on tonight. And I just keep reaching out and keep getting that help you need. look around and find some support. And have a great day, everybody. Take care. I love you all.